and her facilitating hasn't been that special, right? But at least she's capable of doing it, right? And now you have Sophie, who is hurt and who could at least facilitate a tad bit. Of course, the dribbling doesn't look that well from her, but
Current circumstances provide valuable learning experiences for younger players thrust into expanded roles. These opportunities for growth could benefit the franchise's future depth and versatility, assuming proper development and coaching guidance. The team's fourth quarter performance improvements suggest underlying competitive character that could serve as foundation for sustained success. White's recognition of these positive moments indicates awareness of the squad's capabilities when properly motivated and focused. Upcoming games will test the organization's resolve and adaptability as they navigate continued roster limitations. The coaching staff's creativity and player responsiveness will determine whether recent struggles represent temporary setbacks or deeper systematic issues requiring more comprehensive solutions.
she could still get the ball around, right? This is another person that could handle it just a tad bit, at least get downhill on a defender, have moments where she could dribble and get something done, and actually make good decisions on the court.
The situation continues to deteriorate for the Indiana Fever as they grapple with mounting injuries affecting their roster. The team now faces significant challenges with multiple key players sidelined. The Fever are currently without Sophie and Sydney, two crucial contributors to their lineup. Sydney was the first to go down, and despite some dismissive attitudes toward her absence, she represents a vital component of the team's structure. Her ability to manage the basketball and create opportunities, while perhaps not exceptional, provided necessary depth in the backcourt. Sophie's injury compounds the problem significantly. Though her ball handling skills may appear limited at times, she possesses the capability to move the basketball effectively and make solid court decisions. She can attack defenders going downhill and contribute meaningful minutes when healthy. Now both players are unavailable, creating a substantial void in the roster.
Both gone. Both gone, man. Both gone. And I was wondering, was it the same ankle? And yes, indeed, it was the same ankle.
The concerning aspect of Sophie's situation involves the recurring nature of her ankle problem. The same ankle that previously caused issues has flared up again, highlighting the delicate nature of such injuries. Medical professionals and coaching staff had expressed caution about rushing back from ankle injuries, and this setback validates those concerns. Even when players appear ready to return, the slightest aggravation can cause significant setbacks. Ankle injuries require careful management and adequate healing time. The visible discomfort and altered movement patterns suggest this could be a lengthy absence. Recovery from severe ankle sprains typically extends beyond a month, particularly when proper healing protocols are followed. The use of protective bracing might help upon return, but the immediate focus must be on complete recovery. With Caitlin Clark also absent from the lineup, the question of floor leadership becomes critical. The team has shown promise running offensive sets through Aaliyah Boston, utilizing her in a similar manner to how Denver employs Nikola Jokic as a focal point. This strategy showed early success before the offense became stagnant later in contests. Dewana Bonner emerged as a bright spot in recent games, rediscovering her shooting touch with consecutive three-pointers that recalled her previous season's form. Her offensive resurgence provides hope, though her own physical condition remains a concern given visible discomfort during play. Boston demonstrated excellent efficiency, converting 8 of 10 field goal attempts while dealing with foul trouble throughout the contest. Officiating appeared balanced overall, maintaining fairness for both teams during the game. The team managed to mount a comeback attempt despite missing Sophie and Sydney, which demonstrates resilience and potential. However, the backcourt depth chart looks extremely thin at present, creating significant challenges for rotations and game management. Kelsey Mitchell remains available to handle primary ball handling duties and showed flashes of understanding regarding shot selection and decision-making. She demonstrated improved court vision with several successful pick-and-roll executions, delivering passes to teammates in scoring position. However, relying on her as the sole facilitator for extended periods presents risks given the current roster construction. The franchise faces a difficult period with multiple rotation players unavailable. This represents a completely reconstructed roster still finding its identity early in the season. Growing pains are expected with such extensive changes, and patience remains essential as the team develops chemistry and systems. The immediate concern centers on identifying reliable floor generals who can orchestrate the offense effectively. The coaching staff must explore various lineups and role assignments to compensate for the current absences. Creative solutions and player development will be crucial during this challenging stretch. Despite the current adversity, foundations for improvement remain visible. The team showed fight in comeback attempts and individual players demonstrated growth in specific areas. Boston's interior presence and Bonner's renewed offensive confidence provide building blocks for future success. The medical timeline for both Sophie and Sydney remains uncertain, with ankle injuries particularly unpredictable in their recovery patterns. The organization must balance competitive urgency with long-term player health, ensuring proper rehabilitation before any return to action. This difficult period will test the depth and character of the roster while providing opportunities for other players to step into expanded roles. The coaching staff faces the challenge of maintaining competitiveness while managing a depleted rotation during a crucial developmental phase for the franchise.
Leads to some of the struggles you guys had on the offensive end?
I think in the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter into the second, it was like kind of like a gut punch. And then we had to really reconfigure what we were doing on the offensive end, and it affected us in the second quarter, no doubt. Not having another primary ball handler. We take Sophie out of what she does naturally really well when she has to become a ball handler. I think it kind of punched us in the gut for a little while. But look, the reality is, like, this stuff happens. Like, we've seen it time and time again in our league, and having to find a way. We can't take 2.5 quarters to then figure it out from a toughness standpoint, from an energy standpoint.
Practice preparation and skill development remain questionable given on-court execution problems. Basic fundamentals like layup conversion continue plaguing veteran players, suggesting deeper developmental concerns within the program. The team's dependence on Clark became evident through their inability to execute fundamental basketball concepts in her absence. This over-reliance highlights systematic failures in building comprehensive team capabilities.
I was proud of our fight in the fourth quarter. After Sophie goes down, I was proud of our fight, but our consistency throughout the course of the game has to be better.
Tawana was just in here talking about hesitancy and how it was leading to turnovers offensively, and you guys are all figuring that out. I get that. But with the injuries piling up and all that, how do you keep assessing and evaluating the process of your offense when there's so much changing all the time?
Yeah, I think offensively it makes it a little bit more difficult. We got to get creative.
The Indiana Fever organization finds itself navigating significant challenges as head coach Stephanie White addresses the team's current struggles during recent press conferences. The franchise faces mounting pressure following consecutive defeats that have exposed underlying roster construction issues. The absence of star player Caitlin Clark from the lineup represents a critical factor in the team's recent poor performance. Clark's injury has created a void that significantly impacts the squad's competitive ability. Without her presence on the court, the Fever has struggled to maintain the same level of offensive execution and floor leadership that characterized their previous successful stretches.
We got to get creative. We got to figure out who can get us into offense. We got to figure out what actions we can run. And we're gonna have to do the same thing defensively. Honestly, and from a rotation standpoint. But that's what we do. That's our job, right? Like, we got to figure it out. We've got to get creative on both ends of the floor. But DB's absolutely right. I think so many times, and you've seen it really throughout the course of.
Stephanie White bears responsibility for certain strategic decisions that have contributed to the team's difficulties. Her approach to offensive coordination has drawn criticism, particularly regarding the team's reluctance to attempt three-point shots and overall game management. White has implemented a system that mirrors her previous coaching philosophy from Connecticut, transforming the Fever into a more methodical, low-volume shooting team. Statistical analysis reveals concerning patterns when examining the team's approach compared to league trends. The Connecticut Sun, White's former team, ranked second to last in three-point attempts during the 2024 season. This conservative shooting philosophy has now been transplanted to Indiana, resulting in similar offensive limitations that restrict scoring potential.
Early in the season is just like unsure, hesitant on coming to the ball, moving without the ball. Am I passing it? Am I not passing it? Instead of really letting it flow. Part of that's still getting to know one another. I think part of that is understanding what to get, which actions we're trying to get in the system. We got to simplify in a big way. And then we got to continue to build and grow. Look, there's no question, we're hitting adversity right now.
Several roster additions have failed to meet expectations, creating additional complications for the coaching staff. Sophie Cunningham, despite showing promise during preseason exhibitions, has struggled with both performance consistency and injury concerns. Her inability to maintain health while finding offensive rhythm has limited her impact on team success. The franchise's approach to international player acquisition represents another area of concern. Unlike successful teams such as the Las Vegas Aces and Phoenix Mercury, which have strategically incorporated European talent, the Fever has largely avoided this market. This conservative approach to roster building has potentially limited the team's depth and versatility options.
It's challenging, and it's still a great opportunity for us because it's not going to be perfect. It's early enough in the season that we've got a chance to really, I think, find a gut check moment, right? And who we're going to be through adversity. And I think our team battled. We just didn't have enough at the end.
Does it take a toll mentally at all you come into the game without Caitlin, then you lose Sydney, you lose Sophie, and just kind of feels like things are piling up on you there in the moment?
Recent personnel departures, including Grace Berger and Bree Hall, have further complicated the team's chemistry and rotation flexibility. These moves, combined with current injury issues, have created significant gaps in the roster that coaching adjustments cannot fully address. During post-game media availability, White acknowledged the team's offensive struggles following Clark's injury. She described the initial impact as devastating to team morale and rhythm, requiring substantial tactical adjustments throughout the contest. The absence of primary ball handling options forced role players into unfamiliar positions, disrupting established offensive patterns. White emphasized the cascading effects of losing multiple key players simultaneously. The injuries to Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham during the same game created a compounding problem that exposed the team's lack of depth. These circumstances forced the coaching staff to implement emergency rotations and adjust fundamental game plans mid-contest.
Not at the moment it doesn't. And again, we've seen this time and time again in our league, right? Nobody feels sorry for you. We can't feel sorry for ourselves. We just have to figure it out. We've got to make sure that while it might look different, we've got to have fewer moments of breakdowns on the defensive end. We got to have fewer moments of a flurry of turnovers. We've got to have fewer moments where we come out of timeout and not executing.
The coaching staff recognizes the need for increased creativity in both offensive and defensive schemes. White stressed the importance of simplifying systems while maintaining competitive effectiveness. She acknowledged that player hesitancy and uncertainty have contributed to increased turnovers and missed opportunities throughout games. Team chemistry remains a work in progress as players continue adapting to new roles and responsibilities. The integration of new personnel, combined with injury-forced position changes, has created communication breakdowns and execution errors. White pointed to these factors as primary contributors to inconsistent performance levels across different game segments. Defensively, the team has shown flashes of improvement, particularly during fourth-quarter rallies. White praised the squad's energy and effort during crucial moments, highlighting their ability to elevate intensity when facing elimination scenario. However, sustained consistency throughout entire contests remains elusive.
Those are areas we can control. We can't control the injuries. We can't control right now, who's on or off the floor, and, we can figure out some different rotations. We can figure out a different way to play, but we also have to be able to control the things that we can control on the floor and still grow in those areas.
The franchise's decision-making regarding roster construction continues generating debate among observers. The failure to secure additional international talent or experienced depth players has left the team vulnerable to the type of injury crisis currently affecting their competitiveness. White's tactical adjustments during critical moments have shown mixed results. Her late-game management, including final possession decisions, has drawn scrutiny for execution failures and strategic choices. The team's inability to convert crucial scoring opportunities reflects broader systematic issues rather than isolated incidents. Player development under the current coaching regime requires continued evaluation as the season progresses. Individual growth patterns and adaptation to new systems will determine the franchise's long-term trajectory beyond the current injury crisis.
What's going on, my Flabby family? It's your boy Izzy. Welcome if you're new. Man. Yo, it just keeps getting worse and worse. For the Indiana Fever, man, we are dealing with some major injuries right now. We are about to get into it, but before we do that, y'all make sure y'all hit the thumbs up for your boy. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 25.7, so if you can help me out with that, I highly appreciate it. And don't forget to get in the comment section and let me know what y'all think about this. Let's get it.
The organization's commitment to building around Clark's exceptional talents remains unchanged despite current adversity. Her eventual return to the lineup should provide the floor leadership and offensive catalyst necessary to unlock the team's full potential. Training staff evaluations of current injuries will determine rotation availability for upcoming contests. The severity of recent injuries to key contributors could influence strategic planning and roster decisions moving forward. Turnover management represents a fundamental area requiring immediate improvement. The team's 15 turnovers leading to 30 opponent points in recent games highlights execution breakdowns that transcend personnel limitations. These unforced errors stem from decision-making hesitancy and communication failures during offensive possession.
All right, so let's talk about it, man. No Sophie, no Sydney. All right. Now, of course, we lost Sydney first. And, you know, I had some people saying, man, nobody worried about Sydney. But Sydney is a very important player. Okay? She is a very important player. We don't necessarily have too many playmakers and people that can handle the ball. Now, granted, I understand her ball handling.
White's acknowledgement of the team's adversity demonstrates awareness of current challenges while maintaining optimism about overcoming obstacles. Her emphasis on controllable factors suggests a focus on process improvement rather than external circumstances. The coaching staff's ability to adapt game plans based on available personnel will determine short-term success during this difficult period. Emergency rotations and position flexibility have become essential components of daily preparation and strategic planning. Fan expectations remain elevated despite recent struggles, reflecting confidence in the roster's ultimate potential when healthy. The organization's long-term vision centers on championship contention, requiring patience during this developmental phase.